Test, test. Test one, two. Okay, at 7 o'clock, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And no one's out there on Zoom, so we really can't do a tech check, right? Okay. We're shy one trustee. Trustee King is called in absent. And if you would, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, moving right along into item 2, I believe we do have an additional agenda item to add 7B, and that would be the Rubicon event. Are there any other additions or deletions or corrections?
I'd like to add a letter to the correspondence from Mr. Kravita. Is it Kravita? About the drones that we received in July 3rd. Matt Kravita.
Okay, are there any other additions, corrections? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the agenda as written, as amended.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve our agenda as amended. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item number 3, and let me adjust the microphone here. I know I'm cutting in and out. Moving on to item number 3, our consent agenda contains the meeting minutes from July 2nd and July 16th. Do we have any corrections, additions, or?
Mr. Mayor, I have some corrections.
Okay.
This would be on the minutes of July 2nd. Let's go down to 7C. This is during the approval of the pool facility rental application. I had made a motion that we comp the application fee to, there was not mentioned, was it Green Box or Historic Green Mountain Falls for the pool rental?
I can't remember, but I can review that video and get that part right.
Okay. Well, whoever it was, I'd made a motion that we had comped the fee, and the motion failed. I'd like that reflected in the record.
Okay. Are there any other corrections to the minutes?
I have another one.
Okay, go ahead.
This was on the minutes of July 16th. 5B, a revised staging policy from the Planning Commission. Just a question first. Clerk Bo, how many people are involved in generating the minutes that we're looking at? Just you solely? Okay. Well, I think maybe you misconstrued my motion on approving that policy. In the minutes, you're stating that the temporary use permit will be utilized for private projects. And as the BoT approves public projects, the policy pertains only to the private projects. This was not my understanding of the motion that I made and the policy written as the policy is written.
That there was a lot of back and forth in that part, and I wasn't in attendance in that meeting. But looking at the video, that was something that the town manager stated when she was briefing on the staging policy.
So this came from Manager Frank.
Yeah,
Okay.
and some of that back and forth.
Let me read from the policy itself. On the opening statement, it says, the construction staging policy addresses how the town of Green Mountain Falls shall allocate town-owned properties for staging, equipment, and materials. And then down under Article 2, construction staging, it also states that for the it shall be the policy of Green Mountain Falls that any particular right-of-way area shall not be used exclusively for the purposes of staging town or private construction projects. So it's clearly written for both private and town business.
I would suspect that was a misstatement.
I'll look at that again and add clarity to this part of the minutes, and I'll also share that video with you, and we can talk about it and make sure that the revised minutes sound good.
Yeah, well, of course, I would want my fellow trustees to agree with me as well. So.
Yeah, the policy is for public and I remember public and private sections.
Okay. Yeah, and then anything that we do work out as far as clarifying that part of it will be in the minutes for this meeting as well. So it will be in the public record.
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Additional corrections? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes from July 2nd and July 16th as amended and as will be, I don't know how to state the pending change on the 16th. So should we just approve the second?
I think of as amended with it being captured as the minutes for today's or tonight's meeting. Any clarifications? We'd probably be okay because it's been brought to light and agree, and at least I agree with that that might be a misstatement.
Yeah. So July 16th as amended as well.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve our consent agenda as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Moving on into our reports. And I'll start down on my left with Trustee Bell.
All right, so before you have a nuisance tree task force document, And I wanted to let you, this is just a high level summary of what that a task force has been formed. Its intent is expressed in the goals. And the most important one being the mechanism for a meaningful code enforcement of the nuisance tree ordinance. So the group so far is defined alignment with the existing mission and vision, and is now looking at the steps to further support the values stated, which are public safety, forest health, preserving natural beauty of Green Mountain Falls, and the meaningful code enforcement of the nuisance tree ordinance 6-147. And three things have come out of it already that are pretty valuable. The first, Valerie from CSFS, Colorado State Forest Service, is in attendance, and she brought forward a database that the state's put together for municipalities to organize and record trees for whatever reason they want to record their trees. So Aspen, being Aspen, is doing a CO2 analysis with the use of this database. Other communities are doing their majestic trees, their champion trees. What this task force is looking for is putting the nuisance trees in the database. So the way it works is you approach the tree with your phone, you tag it, and then the database has multiple fields for describing the tree. So whether it's dead or alive, if it's diseased, what percent dieback exists. And then there are management fields for how a municipality would then manage those trees. And so I put it to work to demonstrate feasibility with 3 trees up on mountain that were all dead up against the road that are in the rights of way. So we can also identify which trees are in the rights of way versus private properties. And getting back to the focus of the task force, the first thing is to try to clean up town property, try to identify those worst trees, the ones with that create the greatest risk to public health, public safety, and then move forward with those. So that's the first item. The second is that, again, Valerie from the Forest Service shared information about how Woodland Park performs a annual bug assessment. So for $93 an hour, the Forest Service will go through the community, making a map of where Ips beetles, Rocky Mountain pine beetle, and other pestilence exists. So that's good for us to know, and something that we can use. And then I've lost
Could
track.
I
Okay,
interrupt a minute? How much was that again? 93 an hour?
93 an hour. That's their current rate. So that's something we can contract with them in the future. So anyway, I wanted to bring that forward so you were aware of the initial progress that group's going to make. Then this information will be presented to BoT with recommendations of moving forward, and we'll discuss it further then. But I'll provide updates as we progress.
Okay, trustee Bell, any additional report?
That's it.
Okay, trustee Ives.
Were we supposed to have on the agenda tonight to talk about allocating money for Team Rubicon?
Yeah, that's item 7B.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
I didn't
the
get-
agenda one. Modified agenda. We
Yeah.
modified it during the meeting.
Oh, this meeting?
Yeah.
Where was I at?
I don't
Oh,
know.
I guess I was here then. Attended the fire mitigation committee. We covered a lot of ground, I think, on that, and we're gonna have a speaker on it. Yeah, this evening, so I won't go into it, but that's all I have.
Trustee Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended the PRT meeting, and the highlight of the meeting was there has been a sign posted by CSU on town property concerning the closure of the Catamount Reservoir. I personally, along with others, have experienced hikers at that sign asking questions and thoroughly confused as to whether they can proceed upwards on Catamount Trail, which is on town property. So the PRT recommended that the staff write a letter to CSU asking them to remove the sign off of town property.
Were we able to confirm it's on town property?
Say again?
Are we able to confirm it's actually on town property? Because they own some of that up there.
How would you like it confirmed?
It'll have to be surveyed.
Oh,
That's the only way we
Um,
can confirm it.
so how about we use one of our apps that delineate CSU property and town property on Falls Road and copy it and send a picture of that?
Yeah, it might be a start, but I think to actually be able to go out and say you're on town property, usually what we have to have is the surveyed markers.
Well, why
Or
not
it's-
put the burden on them?
And we can try. Yeah, I haven't had much luck with CSU on.
Well,
Much of anything.
personally, as it would suit me personally if we could verify it by, property app, as long as it wasn't like right next to the line.
Yeah.
If it's a fair amount of distance away from the line, which I believe it is,
Okay,
then
yeah, I
I
know
would
there,
copy that.
there was a pin for the purchase that was done a year or so ago that was close by,
Yeah, that's with Historic Green Mountain Falls property.
right?
It,
And I would think it would follow along the same line.
I would think.
Okay,
Has staff received that memorandum from PRT?
We have,
And have you taken any action
I sent an email.
to CSU? Okay. Thank you.
okay, anything else?
No,
Okay.
that's all.
Okay, I'll get to mine. First, thanks to Building Ute Pass Community for a successful Bronc Day. Thank you very much for that. Second, we have identified this week a single point failure in our server/information system. We fried a switch here in the room next to us, and you couldn't even get to the town website. So I have asked Flair, who is the company we're currently contracted with to do our server, to come up with some proposals to help eliminate the fact that we have a single point failure where we can't really do much of anything. I mean, it even takes out the phones, if I'm not mistaken. It took out our phones. So yeah, we do have something that's identified now, and we need to kind of take a look at it. The other thing, Becky and I spent most of the last week trying to work on a application for the FEMA grant, for the mitigation funds. Frustrating, obviously. Pretty much took all week for us, but during the initial phone call, they basically said, "Where's your H&H study?" And we said, "What?" And so instead of just going after an application for like culverts and ditches, we're having to create a two-phase application to go after engineering, which would include the H&H study, which is hydrologic and hydraulic. It's water, anything water-based, we have to have that evidently. And so yeah, so now it's basically a two-phase application. I have absolutely no idea if we're going to get it. You know, usually there's limited funds. The people who were part of the disaster get usually rise to the top, get first pick. But since we're going to have to, ours is two-phase, I don't know how that really impacts obtaining funds. It took it from roughly 240,000, well over 300,000. So it's was very frustrating. And that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions. Okay. So we'll move on to, are there any staff reports?
I wanted to report on progress with Kahlo Trust. Let me see if I can make this so it's readable. Okay, here we go. This is our most recent statement from them showing a balance of 236, 456, 35. This is our balance in Park State Bank, maintaining that 40% threshold. The next piece is pretty interesting. Our new bookkeeper, Victoria, did some projections that I wanted to include in here. And I'm hoping to have further discussion at a future meeting. So this first piece is our earnings so far from Kahlo Trust. And that's at 236, 456. That's this number that I just shared with you. So we brought in $5,900 roughly. 268,000 in our money market account at Park State Bank brought in about $250 in the same period. So it's working out. Having the money in Kahlo Trust has been a good thing. And what I wanted to talk about, we're projecting we would have about $18,000 of gains if we just eliminated the money market and used Kahlo Trust, maintaining a balance of about 100,000 in the town checking account. So that's, something to bring in the future, let you guys make a decision around that. And I'll bring more supporting docs and whatnot. So other financial reporting, I'm really close to correcting the Q1 report that you guys got earlier in April, and really close to having Q2 polished. We're doing audit stuff and just didn't quite have it ready for this meeting, but it's really, so I'm hoping to get that to you at the next board meeting for my treasurer's report.
The question, traditionally is 100,000 in a checking account adequate? And how long does it take to transfer funds if we need it?
So Brian's preference when he was the bookkeeper was keeping about 30 in checking. That was our operating, funds. Victoria's more comfortable with 50, so we've been doing that. There's really no difference whether it's in money market or checking. Neither one of them yields anything, So to me, it's just a wash. I said, hey, you want 50 in there, no problem. So we've just been doing that. So 100 would be a very comfortable buffer and difference from what
to
we've
get
been
money
doing.
out of Kahlo Trust takes a day.
It's same. I looked into this. It's same day if you do it by 11 a.m. and after 11 a.m. it's next day.
Okay.
It's pretty liquid.
Clerk Bo, are we going to have a disbursement schedule along with the financial statements?
Yeah, we can put that together.
I know that, I recall that our CPA, Victoria, said that our current software program did not have that capacity, but she believed that through a backdoor process that she could generate a disbursement schedule for us, and I hope she was successful in doing so.
I think she's really close on it and she has been working on that. So,
Thank you.
of course.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Any other staff reports?
Marshall's report for last month. We have 45 calls for service. You can see what they were up there. We had a lot of audits that had to be done, CGIS, FBI, 1033, all got completed and we passed all of our audits. So we're doing good in that. Your reserve officers for the town, your 3 reserve officers worked a total of 87 hours last month. So that's pretty incredible for folks who are giving us their time. Bronc Days, we did not have to rely on any outside agency to help us this year, which was nice. I mean, we didn't have to pay anybody extra money to do that. So we're in a good spot with where we're at in the marshal's office. I was very happy that everybody was there. The El Paso County Sheriff's Department conducted a hostage negotiation training down in the Joyland parking lot with a lot of their stuff. I think they just wanted to come up to the mountains to train, to be honest with you. They got us far up onto the edge of the county, up in the mountains as they could, I think. So just to stay cool. We didn't have nothing earth shattering as far as calls. You can kind of see we kind of had a mixed bag up there. But all's well.
Okay, trustees, questions?
I have a question. Yes. Would you mind just giving a little more in-depth outline of what the audit comprises of? Is it just an online audit, or do they actually come in the office and pull open your files?
So if you don't pass the online audit, then they come and dig in your stuff. And we didn't have to do that. There are audits. So the FBI CGIS audit is mainly the computer that we use to run people, to run plates, to enter neighbors into, to do citizen contact tracking. And we have to have a specific computer in a locked room type of a thing. And we meet all those requirements. We also have to answer questions under oath about how we're utilizing those things and if we're in compliance with doing those. So they didn't say that they needed to come up, and again, very small, but like if you're a bigger department like El Paso or the Springs, somebody comes down and they look at stuff just because there's, in our world, we're this big and they're like this. And so we're kind of the small fish in the pond, and they don't mess with us too much because we don't actually cause them too much heartburn, if that makes sense. So we have not had an in-person audit ever since I've been here. And so we've always passed the online portion to their satisfaction, so they don't have to come up. 1033, which is the audit for the military surplus that we use. Again, we have 3 rifles. There's people out there that have hundreds, and they have tanks and tactical vehicles and helicopters and airplanes and things like that, stuff that we would never have. So again, we're the small microcosm in this huge thing. So they don't mess with us too much. Although every 5 years we do have to get audited. The last in-person audit was under Marshal Virgil's watch. So we're probably going to come up within the next 2 or 3 years. They're going to come up and look at our 3 rifles and go, oh, look, there's the 3 rifles. There you go. So that'll be it. So no, we haven't had anything in person.
And do they issue a summary, maybe making recommendations on compliance?
They do. So in the computer system, when you answer their question, if you put something that you weren't compliant with, like we had just this last year gotten our new policies and procedures updated. We did not have this CGIS and FBI. We did not have a section in there for that. They provided us with that fit into our servers and into our format. And we did add it into our policies and procedures. So
Very good. Thank you.
They tell you if something's wrong, they immediately let you know. And as long as you don't get, as long as you don't get too many wrong, you're probably gonna be okay. And I guess we didn't get enough wrong. So, and we implemented the things they asked us to within days of them asking. So.
Okay. Anything else? No I mean, worth noting in your report?
No, not in any of that. It took a long time. I think there were two audits within the FBI and CGIS. They were both 87 questions each. And then the 1033 is take a picture of your serial number on your rifle, put it into the program, and let us know that you still have it. So it's not that bad. So it's
Thank you,
pretty good.
Marshall.
You're welcome.
Trustee, other questions?
A short one. So always appreciate seeing the monthly data.
Yeah.
Do you ever look at trend analysis? I mean, I know most of this are onesie twosie events, so it could probably just look like noise, but
Yes.
if there's also long-term trend analysis.
We have, we utilize a program that's called Citizen Contact that actually graphs our town into spaces, and it'll show us where we do most of our traffic stops. It'll create a heat map, if you will. And it's not bad like you would see in a huge city. Like you can put it up there and you'll have a big red spot, and that's where you're going to focus all of your problems at. Ours are very light orange or yellow, and most of them are along the main drag, just because we're one of those, if you want to get somewhere in this town, you go up to a dead end, you turn around, you come back. So everything happens on that road, as it were, or up on the highway. And so we do have that trend analysis. Nothing has peaked to a point that's caused me concern. The other information that we use comes from the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, their dispatch information. I look at probably every 6 months how our calls are coming in, what times they're coming in, so that I can modify my schedule. When I first took this and started talking to the board, they wanted to know how I figured out the hours I should work, and that's how I figure it out. During the summertime, I tend to work more, we'd call it a swing shift, an afternoon shift, just because stuff happens more in the afternoon. Whereas in the wintertime, things happen during the day. People don't want to be out. It's dark at night. People don't, we don't have as much problem during that time. So I utilize that data to define how me and the deputies should come in and work. So we do have some of that. There's other programs we could probably get or utilize, but a lot of them are expensive and they wouldn't be effective for our situations. But we do have some things and we do utilize them. Absolutely.
Okay, any other questions? Thanks, Marshall.
Thank you.
And moving right along, we'll come into our first public comment period. Do we have anyone in the audience who would like to comment? I think we have one. If you would please state your name and address. Make sure the blue light is on the microphone.
Lisa Bonwell, 10691 Illinois. I just wanted to thank, I'm sitting in the back here looking at every single person in this room contributed in some way to Bronc Day. Rick, you did, everybody did, and you did. And I am so grateful and so thankful that, everybody supported us in our effort. I think we had another great year, and go Green Mountain Falls. Thank you so much.
Okay. Do we have anyone else in the audience who'd like to do public comment? Not seeing any. Do we have anyone on Zoom?
Not seeing anything coming in from Zoom.
Okay, with that, we'll move into our business items. And the first one is our 2025 budget calendar.
This is our proposed budget calendar for setting the budget for 2025. These bold sessions, basically all of these are dates that will impact you all, and we'll need all the board to be in attendance. So the 6th is the orientation and retreat that you guys are going to be doing together. October 1st will be the first draft presented to the board at one of our meetings. 15th is the work session with staff. The November 5th is the work session with committees. And the 19th is you all setting funding priorities.
Yeah, you might kind of highlight since it is a new board, why we have a first draft in October, but then we spend pretty much the rest of the year honing that down to our final version.
Yeah, we're gonna get feedback from our audit. That's, gonna change things. And then the mill levy, we get numbers and projections on that. That changes things. So
Isn't it also a state requirement that the first draft be presented in like October?
yeah, some of these dates are statutory, and I think that is one of them.
And are we needing action to adopt?
Yeah, board approval to adopt this calendar
Okay,
at this meeting.
okay. Trustees, do you have any questions, comments?
So, Bo, how does this prepare us in terms of flexibility? Is this our cut it to the last minute calendar, or is this calendar contain flexibility so that we're not cutting it to the last minute?
I've only been through this once before, and it did feel like last minute, but I think this does provide as much possible time for each stage.
And Mayor, from your experience, what's your reaction?
This is pretty much identical to what I've experienced in past years.
And was it sufficient? Did it give us enough time to do the things that we needed to do without a panic, hit a deadline here?
I mean, usually the things that get us kind of in the panic are the audit results, and that tends to throw us into a little bit of a quandary if we don't have things quite ready. But as far as trying to set up the budgets, this schedule in the past seems to have worked fairly well. In other words, no big panics.
Okay. Trustees Ives?
We haven't missed any deadlines yet.
Okay. Well, I just want to be more proactive than reactive if
I think we can usually find time to squeeze something else in if we feel
Okay.
like the need to do so. It hasn't been an issue in the past.
Right. Okay.
As far as I've seen.
So last year, if you remember, well, the state kind of wreaked havoc with us. And so last year, we just decided to do an across-the-board percentage increase, turn that in, and then once things settled down at the state, then if we needed to, come back with an amended budget. We really didn't need to come back with an amended budget because when all the dust settled, it was about the percentage we had originally guessed. And it was a guess originally. So.
Some feedback that we did get last year was the amount of time allocated. It wasn't so much the dates and how much time between them, but like committees wanted more time and stuff like that. And I think the town manager moved a lot of these times up to 5 o'clock to account for that. So do take note, those times are earlier than we usually get together.
Trustees, any other questions, comments? If none, I'd entertain a motion.
I'd like to move that we accept the draft budget calendar for 2025 as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the 2024 draft budget calendar. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to our next business item would be the Rubicon event.
Staff is looking for board approval to spend up to $500 from the Kirkpatrick Fire Mitigation Fund to feed the volunteers from Team Rubicon. They'll be out here between August 21st and August 27th. You guys held some discussion about this at your last meeting. Trustee Bell did a good job highlighting those details. If you want to do that again, I'd love you for it.
When would the event When is the event proposed to take place?
It would be at the end of that session, the end of that work session. So I'm guessing August 26th or 7th.
So as a reminder from our last meeting, my contribution was working with Becky and also reviewing the Kirkpatrick Family Fund Fire Mitigation Grant to ensure that there weren't limitations that wouldn't preclude us from making this recommended donation. So there are no restrictions, and we're free to proceed with the discussion.
Okay, did we have someone who wished to speak on this item? Yeah, and if you'll need to say your name and address and all, and make sure the blue light's on.
Well, since I've done this, can you hear me? So my name is David Douglas. I'm the chair of the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee for Green Mountain Falls. My address is 11145 Hondo. So I prepared a statement because I really want to give some background on this, just because I think it kind of helps in the decision. For the last 18 months, Green Mountain Falls Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee has been working to provide fire mitigation to property owners in our town who do not have either the physical or financial ability to perform necessary mitigation work on their property. This effort began with an initiative led by the American Red Cross last summer. That project, in partnership with Team Rubicon, was to have included fire mitigation for the participants in the program. Due to the issues of coordination between American Red Cross and Team Rubicon, the promised fuels mitigation part of the program was not performed as promised. Without realizing the history of the American Red Cross project, late last year, Team Rubicon contacted the town of Green Mountain Falls to introduce their organization's capabilities and offer their services to our town and its residents. For those of you who may not know about Team Rubicon, it is a veteran-led organization composed of volunteer members who provide disaster recovery services to communities both nationally and internationally. In addition to disaster recovery, Team Rubicon extends its volunteer services to communities like ours to perform work such as the fire mitigation where resources might otherwise be insufficient. The Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee engaged with Team Rubicon soon after the introductory presentation to the town. Team Rubicon agreed to assist those property owners who had signed up for the American Red Cross program on a priority basis to provide the fire mitigation services which had been promised and not performed under the American Red Cross program. Team Rubicon initially asked that we limit the number of participants to 25. After months of working together with Team Rubicon and property owners in our town, 19 property owners will receive the mitigation services by Team Rubicon on the dates August 21 through 27. The attrition of the original individuals who had signed up has resulted in the reduction of participants. Church in the Wildwood will provide billeting for up to 32 Team Rubicon volunteers who will come into town on August 21st. Town Hall will be the command center for the operation. So I just want to take a minute and sort of break down the schedule as has been explained to me by Team Rubicon. Their intent is to come in town on the 21st, and on the 22nd and 23rd, which will be Thursday and Friday, their teams will go and survey the 19 properties of the owners that have signed up, and they will develop a work scope for all of those properties. They will then execute that work scope on the Saturday and Sunday, 24 and 25 of August. And
their intent is to demobilize on Monday at noon, with most of the Team Rubicon volunteers leaving town that afternoon. There will be a small contingent of Team Rubicon volunteers left to finish up items, and they will depart on the 27th. So to add some clarity to what Bo said, to have an event of appreciation for the Team Rubicon volunteers on the 27th would in fact be way too late. So it'd have to be before the 27th. I was advised about 3 weeks ago that someone in our town government was told that it is customary for the community to host a dinner for the Team Rubicon volunteers as a way to express appreciation for the work performed. The Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee was asked by a trustee, John Bell, to organize the volunteer appreciation event. So in its monthly meeting last Monday, the 29th of July, the FMAC did address this volunteer appreciation event. And we began our discussion by considering the fact that there were 19 people in town that were receiving the benefit of this. Our thought was we'd reach out to those people first to say, you know, if you would like to participate in an appreciation event, you know, we'd like for you to do that either through a financial gift or potluck. So that was sort of our first iteration in discussing this. However, we came to the conclusion pretty quickly that the 19 participants and beneficiaries of this program are, for the most part, unable to organize, prepare, and host a dinner for the Team Rubicon volunteers for a variety of reasons, such as physical inability, financial inability, and and some people are just not here who are beneficiaries of this. So it really kind of limits the pool of people. So then it was a discussion of, could we rally the community to put on maybe a potluck? Following discussion of all the various alternatives, the unanimous decision of the committee was to recommend to the Board of Trustees that the board approve and authorize the town manager to pay the not to exceed amount of $700 for a volunteer appreciation lunch at Cantina Verde on Monday, August 26th from noon to 3 p.m. The amount of the request is based on Cantina Verde's quote of $20 to $22 per person times a maximum number of participants, 32. And that is how we arrived at the $700. Some of the reasons for the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee's unanimous decision to host this at Cantina Verde is, number one, the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee has no budget to pay for this expense. So obviously we have to come and ask for this money. Number two, the Fire Mitigation Committee does not have the manpower or bandwidth to do more than what we are recommending. Any alternative to this recommendation must be implemented by others. And number three, the Fire Mitigation Committee believed that asking the beneficiaries of Team Rubicon's work to provide money or food for this appreciation event was not appropriate given the limitations I previously described. Number four, the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee wrote the grant to the Kirkpatrick Family Fund last year requesting fire mitigation funding for $65,000, which was awarded in full and funded in late 23. The estimated value of Team Rubicon's volunteer time is $25,000. Funding an appreciation dinner for $700 is insignificant in relation to the value we're receiving. The volunteer appreciation meal should reasonably fall within the parameters of the Kirkpatrick Family Fund grant, as it is a project which benefits the town by protecting infrastructure for all. Since the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee met and approved this recommendation, I've been approached by some individuals who believe the beneficiaries should be allowed to participate in the volunteer appreciation event to express their gratitude. The event recommended by the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee at Cantina Verde does not exclude anyone from attending to express their gratitude. However, only the Team Rubicon volunteers' meals will be paid with town funds. It is my belief that very few of the beneficiaries will attend the appreciation event due to physical limitations, not in town, or they may feel that they appropriately express their appreciation while the workers were on their property doing the work. If there is a desire for an alternative event by this body or town management, then please feel free to organize whatever event you feel appropriate. As mentioned previously, the committee unanimously chose only one recommendation, in large part because the members did not have the bandwidth to participate in any fuller way. But of course, if other choices are made by BoT, the Board of Trustees, those decisions need to be made with the full knowledge that most, if not all, of the FMAC members will likely be unable to participate. As previously stated, the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee, as an advisory-only committee, recommends to the BoT and town management that the town of Green Mountain Falls fund the Team Rubicon Appreciation event held at Cantina Verde on August 26, 2024. The maximum amount of funding of this recommendation is $700. And by the way, as a closing note, we will need an answer on this because I need to reserve Cantina Verde and give them some ability to put this on their schedule to plan.
Okay, trustees, questions, comments? Hang on, you might get some questions from the board.
Chairman Douglas, could you give us a copy of that
Yes, I'll be
fine
hap-
presentation that you
I'll be
made?
happy to hand this to Bo and he can
Thank you.
make all the copies y'all need.
Trustees, other questions, comments? I'm kind of wondering if, maybe an alternative, because I'm more than willing to cook hamburgers and hot dogs, and I'm sure we could get the farm stand and go out to some of the other nonprofits and try to claim in other stuff.
We've done
That
that.
way we could,
I mean, we had that discussion during the committee.
uh-huh,
I mean, these guys probably get fed hamburgers and hot dogs all the time.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't have an issue with that personally, but I mean, if there is, as another alternative, like I said, I'm more than willing to cook. I know we can get our hands on a grill. And we can hit up some of the other nonprofits real quick to see if they could bring, like, one nonprofit could bring desserts and maybe someone else could bring drinks. And then just open up to the entire community and say, basically a potluck. As an alternative, I'm more than willing to step in and help out on that. If it's more of a question of getting time and being able to help organize, more than willing to help out on that for an alternative.
Okay.
So,
Would FMAC support that activity?
Well, I think I just read to you FMAC's position and what our recommendation is and what our level of participation might be.
Would you be clear, though? Would FMAC be willing to participate in the activity the mayor's proposing?
Would we be willing to participate?
Correct.
Well, I think that we polled most of our members in the meeting. We had people that were not going to be here. And likely I will be one of those because we are planning a trip back to Houston. And we have another committee member that is working full-time. And I think it was the decision of the committee that this was what we could support. And if there was another alternative that was put forward, that whoever wanted to carry out that alternative, you would be, it'd be fine for you to do that.
For the fundraising you did at Bronc Day, would there be funds available to say purchase drinks?
All of that money went to the fire department,
The which one?
the fire department.
The fire department.
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't aware of that. Thank you.
One other note here, the reason that we chose Monday afternoon at Cantina Verde was that is the only time that Cantina Verde could host this. Another, you wanted to do something at a different time, say a Saturday night or a Sunday night. If you wanted to hold an event that was by volunteers, that might be another date that you could consider.
But it would need to be at least by the 26th, right?
Yeah, most of the volunteers will leave on the 26th.
So it'd be better on the 25th.
Yes.
Right.
If you wanted to, and I'll just give you a little more information on this. Because they are breaking this project into basically two components, the first one is assessment and the second part is execution. The way Team Rubicon works is they put out a call to volunteers within their organization. They don't know until they've received affirmative responses from their volunteer members how many they're going to have on any one day. So they may have people that come in and work on the assessment Thursday and Friday, and they might leave and go home Friday night. They may have people that come in on Saturday, work Saturday, Sunday, and depart on Monday. So we really don't have a good count on exactly how many people we're going to be feeding. And I should know that, within another week or two,
Okay.
from my contact at Team Rubicon.
Your initial contact with Rubicon, was their recommended evening the Saturday? What was the recommended evening?
Their recommended evening was Saturday,
Thank you.
because that was when they felt that would reach the most of their people.
Trustees, comments, thoughts?
Well, thanks for putting in the time and spending that meeting discussing the options and putting forward your recommendation. Thanks for doing that.
Oh,
That
happy-
extra
Happy to do that. This was never something that was, we heard anything about was an expectation or a past practice from Team Rubicon over the entire 18 months that we have been working with them. And it wasn't until John approached me and said, "Hey, did you know that there's sort of this, not an expectation, but there's a precedent by other communities that they do this."
And David, thank you for considering all the time and energy you've put into this, because this is not, when you read the code, what FMAC is established to do. So you've stepped up to duty, the general concept of duty, that we do what it takes to move the town forward, even when it's not explicitly expressed, in our job descriptions. So thank you for taking
Yeah.
that time and energy.
Sure, happy to do that.
Okay, trustees, any more questions? Thoughts, discussion? Go with the recommendation, go with alternative? $700 to me is, yeah. Yeah, not an issue.
Yeah, I
Money's
think
not an issue.
we estimated, John and I did, that their in-kind contribution was well over $25,000 to the town.
The one thing, and I've expressed this to David twice, and I'll share the same feeling with the committee, is that I feel like there's two goals that need to be attended to. And saying thank you to Rubicon is the first, but also extending an invitation that whether it's received or not received, back to a concept of duty, I feel if we're going to, build community, that we make that invitation out to those recipients so that they can participate in this, and thank you. It's very idealistic. It's sort of Aristotle's eudaimonia concept, but I think it's one of the things that's important. So,
Yes, my comment would be, we need to do something. This is the only thing that has any organization that's been presented to us. So we either accept it, we deny it, or we table in the hope that somebody else would step up and say, this is what I'm going to do. This is what we could do. Because we need an organizer.
Yeah, I think I've said I'd organize it.
yeah,
Yeah.
As
As an alternative.
Flipping burgers and organizing it are two different
Yeah,
things, so.
Yeah, to me, it's, I've done things like this in my life before, and it's not that difficult.
So am I hearing you correctly that you would organize an alternative?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what it'd be right now. It's gonna be see if one of the local nonprofits can supply the grill.
Hmm.
With the town funding it, I'll run down to Costco, get however many hamburgers, hot dogs, buns, and then we start divvying out. Maybe ask the fire department to maybe come in with the condiments. Go to maybe another nonprofit, say, would you be willing to do desserts? And then open it up to the whole community for a potluck. Easy peasy.
Well, how would you like to proceed, Mr. Organizer?
Well, I think the board needs to discuss whether they'd like to do the original proposal or or the alternate.
a number of people I've talked to privately have agreed to roll up their sleeves and help. So I think that we can find labor and get this accomplished. I think when we start, looking at values, saying thank you to Rubicon, saying thank you to the most that we can, and Saturday night seems to be a preferred evening versus the Monday afternoon. I'd like to make a recommend, and I'd also like to suggest that we focus on the 19 families, the recipients versus the entire community. And the reason I say this is because Greenbox has been very sensitive when they put together their events, not to steal business from the existing businesses. I think we need to show that same courtesy to the businesses by focusing on the 19 recipients, not making it a community meal and then taking customers away from Canteen Verde that Saturday evening, or the Moose, where, but there were, we have people that would think they can grab a free meal from the town versus supporting the businesses. So I would like to make a proposal and take advantage of your generosity, Mayor, to say, let's consider a Saturday evening event focused on those 19 recipients plus Rubicon.
Is that a formal motion?
It can be. Yes.
Is there a second?
Once again, thanks for your work and your recommendation. I'll second motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we pursue the Rubicon appreciation for the, I'm going to call out a date, 24th of August, with the alternative proposal. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries, and I'll need the names and if you got emails for the 19, and then the number for the Rubicon folks, and I'll book it down to the Springs and get the stuff. So, okay, thanks again. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Okay, with that, move on to our discussion items, which is our ongoing task list. And Bo, I'll let you present first.
This is a recycled document that came up in one of our packets some time ago. More recently, Trustee King asked for a list of tabled items. This is kind of what I've been using, so I just updated this. The status has changed on some of these, but I kept them on there just to show you that. I think I got it all on there. I spent some time on this. I'll make a better effort to include it in future packets.
Clerk Bo, is this your task list or is this administrative task? Task?
Yeah, this is administrative. It's definitely not just my own. These initial ones that have been changed to completed were largely the town manager, the dumpster blind, the gazebo bridge. That was all town manager, for example.
So is this something that we would expect to see month to month?
Yeah, I think I should include it more often, and I believe that's what the King asked for.
How about the empty boxes? Can we do, if we truly have an empty box, can we do it in a, or is it just missing information?
Oh, yeah, no, I can include an NA
Okay.
or something in there. Yeah. Mhm.
So our nuisance tree task force would be under our nuisance tree procedure.
Yeah, and that came about after I last updated this.
Okay.
These guys have been pretty active here more recently, so
Okay.
it's almost up to date. But yeah, that's one that needs additional detail.
Can I make a suggestion?
Please.
Possibly, adding an additional column that that would give well, you have a status column, but something more than in progress. If you have it in progress, what is it in progress? Are we waiting for someone else? Or are we waiting for something internally? Just a, general kind of progress or status report.
Yeah, I could expand that column and just add more detail.
Okay. That'd be very helpful. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Okay, trustees, any other discussion? If not, we had just, that was all we had under discussion items. Correspondence, we had the planning, is that planning commission or individual planning commission?
That came in from an individual, Commissioner Blasi, and he did sign it here at the bottom.
Okay. And then we also had the drone correspondence that we added.
There is an additional correspondence. Trustee Walker, are you going to be reading that additional correspondence?
I have his letter. If, you don't have it handy.
I don't.
Okay.
We need
Well-
that read into the meeting.
We should read it into the meeting.
You can read it.
Oh, the whole thing?
I can read it if you want. I'm a speed reader. I'll do it.
The real reason I brought this up, not to ignore this specific problem, but to understand, establish a procedure when citizens write the board of trustees. We need to have some kind of, I think it's prudent that we make a statement, whether it's good for the individual or not, but just to have it filed away, I don't think it's prudent.
What I've done in the past myself is if they request it, I put it in. If there's no request, then I don't. That's what I've done in the past, right, wrong, or indifferent, but that's what I've done in the past. So we'll try to do a quick speed read of this. It is from Matt Cravata, dated Wednesday, July 3rd, 2024. Dear Mayor Dixon and esteemed trustees, good day to you all. My name is Matt. I'm an 8+ years resident and homeowner in Green Mountain Falls, Spruce Avenue, along with my longtime partner, Donna. After reaching a breaking point over the weekend, I contacted the Marshal's office and I had a long conversation with Deputy Marshal Will Starks about the ever-present nuisance of drones in our once peaceful town. Regular buzz of drones flying around residential areas has become more than an annoyance. We feel that our privacy is being routinely violated and the buzz of the rotors invades our sense of peace and quiet. Every summer it gets worse and worse, and we often feel compelled to go indoors in order to escape the invasion of noise, not to mention the sense of being watched by strangers. Breath. On top of those concerns, the buzzing of infiltration causes our dog anxiety and alarm, making her bark at the sky all too often. And beyond that, the buzzing scares off hummingbirds, which only visit the area in the summer months. The deputy marshal said there's absolutely nothing going to be done to control the invasion of noise and our privacy, since no homeowner has jurisdiction of the airspace above their respective properties. Now, I have no issues with commercial uses, such as real estate agents photographing properties or forest managers seeking out beetle infestations or other issues that must be monitored. But the buzz of recreational drones and GMF is driving us crazy. We feel our privacy and right to peace are being compromised all too often, and our dog is also being harmed by the buzzing and flight patterns, which often get very close to our house and yard. And because drones are so small now and hard to spot, we feel doubly anxious when we're outside trying to enjoy our space, but inflicted with an invasive buzz of unseen drones passing overhead or on the other side of our fences. It's so unnerving, it's ruining our right to peace and privacy. And as Starks told me on the phone, there's little or nothing we can do about it. Can our mayor trustees take up the issue and put a stop to this extreme annoyance and invasion of our peace? Can GMF make it illegal to operate recreational drones in town? After all, according to FAA and laws regarding the use of drones in public spaces, the FAA requires that all drone operators maintain a visual line of sight with their drones at all times. Because of the tall trees and sloping terrain that makes up most of our sweet town, there is no way for drone operators to adhere for FAA rules because operators cannot maintain a visual line of sight with their drones. Users are effectively breaking the law every time they fly off their own properties. As a taxpayer, I beg the mayor and trustees to clamp down on operation of drones in residential areas. We you to pass an ordinance to stop this routine invasion to our sense of peace and harmony and on our own properties. Ask anyone who owns a home in GMF, you'll find a majority like mine who despise the nightly buzz of drones. We all want something done to protect our rights. Please, I beg you, pass an ordinance to disallow the recreational drones in our town. It's getting worse every year. Thank you for your time. 6670 Spruce Avenue. Okay, so that was correspondence. There's no action on it. And since that's our last correspondence, we move on to our final public comment. Anyone in the audience like to comment?
Mayor, before we move on to final public comment, I believe we've left off something on 7B. So with my motion, it didn't contain a dollar amount, the $500 that was mentioned. So how do we attend to that bit of business?
You can modify the motion here real quick.
Okay.
I just assumed there was cap of 700.
So I'd like to modify the motion
Okay.
to cap the expenditures from the Kirkpatrick Family Fund mitigation grant of $500 to be used,
500.
because
Okay.
that's how Bo read in 7B.
Okay. And do we all agree with,
So first off, let's agree with the way Bo read in 7B, that it was for up to $500. That was your wordage.
That was my understanding from conversations with the town manager. But having heard that whole background, I think you guys should determine the price and,
Yeah.
you know, disregard any suggestion that I may have made.
yeah,
Okay,
so we can go with whatever amount.
all right. Are you suggesting capless, or are you wanting to modify the
I'd
motion
say
with a
just
cap?
modify the motion for the cap that was proposed of 700.
Okay,
I don't think it'll cost that much, but
all right. So then modifying the motion for an expenditure cap of up to $700.
okay. The board concur?
I concur.
Concur. Yeah, so looks like the board concurs with that alteration.
Yes, thank you.
And
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
If you will indulge me on the correspondence agenda item again, since this is a little new, this is new to me, but I understand we entered it into the record, but I'm more interested in responding to the citizen in some fashion or form. How does the rest of the trustees feel like that?
well, since I was with the FAA, I can tell you they have had a response from the law enforcement office that is accurate. We do not own the airspace. We cannot regulate it.
Understood. Don't you think it's prudent that we as a board respond to the citizen and say, according to our law enforcement, that we have no jurisdiction in that airspace? Thank you for your correspondence.
If you'd like for me to author an email back to them, since he sent it in by email, if the board concurs, I can basically restate what law enforcement has told them. Thank you for your letter. However, we cannot regulate airspace. If it violates noise and
That's all good with me, but I'm more interested in establishing a policy of how we handle this, like, with Mr. Blasi and his letter. I think we should respond to him in some fashion or form, whether.
Well, I tend to look at it as, okay, so it's a board decision, but I tend to look at these things as like public comment. It's not a dialogue. It's, here's my thoughts on something. We don't dialogue with public commenters.
You don't. I don't think that
Well,
applies
it's
to
not part
me.
of it's not part of the meeting. That is not something you should do.
I understand your feeling.
Yep.
What about correspondence? Are you're classifying that? So you're saying
It's up to
citizens,
each.
it doesn't look good though, because citizens write us a letter, they want an answer and we don't give them an answer. What kind of deal is that?
If you want a coordinated response, it would have to come in front of the board. If you want to do an individual response, you could write an individual response since it was addressed to all
Well,
trustees.
I think I'd favor a coordinated response because that would be more effective.
Then that we would have to bring that up as like a business item. That's how we should do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Moving on to our final public comment. Do we have anyone? I don't see anyone in the audience. Anyone on Zoom?
Nothing coming in from Zoom.
It is 8:17. We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.